It's 6:14 on a Tuesday. A headline pops up on your phone. Your home county just lost its last bank branch. You read it twice. Then you turn the phone face down on your desk. You don't decide to do it. Your hand just does it. It's the same motion you made the day a $4.3 billion wire hit your account. You built a company to stop headlines like this one. It never reached home. A memory flashes in, fast, uninvited. Your mother behind a counter, bulletproof glass, a line of tired faces, every one of them waiting to turn a paycheck into cash they could actually spend that day. You used to sit in the back of that store after school, doing homework on an overturned milk crate, listening to the same conversation happen over and over. How much the fee was, why it had to be that much. Nobody ever had a good answer. The memory is gone before you can hold on to it. You sit with the headline a while longer than you should. Then you close the app. You open your calendar instead. Your sister calls at 6:20. You watch the screen ring 4 times. You let it go to voicemail. You tell yourself you'll call her back after this next thing. There's always a next thing. You have a meeting at 6:30. You push it to 7. Then you push it again. Waiting outside that door, a different memory shows up, not asked for. A parking lot. A man named Porter Hale loading into a car worth more than your whole street. You were 16. You asked him one question. What part of that speech was true? He stopped walking, looked at you the way he looked at something that moved when it wasn't supposed to. Which part did you think wasn't? The passion part, you said. Nobody builds something real on passion. Passion's what you say when you don't want to explain the actual reason. He was quiet a second. Then he asked if you had a phone. He sent you a folder of raw data with no story attached. Told you to find what was missing by Sunday. You found 3 things wrong with it by Saturday morning. He called you back in 9 minutes. For 2 years, you worked for him for nothing. Weekends, 2 hours each way on a bus both ways, just to sit in a converted loft above a hardware store and build models nobody had asked for yet. You told yourself it was an investment. It was, just not the kind anyone could see yet. The memory ends as fast as it started. You're back at the door. Still haven't opened it. You open your phone instead. You open a flight search app. You type your hometown into the destination field. Then you close it. You do this 3 times over the next hour. Each time you get a little further before closing it. You finally sit down for the meeting. Numbers you've already seen twice. You nod along. Your mind is somewhere else. You're thinking about the offer you turned down at 21. Porter offered $180,000 for 30%. You said no before you'd even decided to say it. You had already run the dilution math across 5 different scenarios. 30% was cheap early and expensive later, and you weren't going to owe someone that much of a company you hadn't built yet. He looked at you a moment, then he smiled, not warmly, but the specific respect of someone who'd just been outmaneuvered by his own student. You're going to need more than $180,000. I know, you said. You're thinking about the acquisition, $4.3 billion. 27 years old, the wire clearing on a Thursday afternoon. You looked at the number on your phone for about 40 seconds. Then you set it face down on the counter and stood at the window of an apartment in a city that had absolutely no idea what had just happened 3 floors up. You expected something. Arrival. Completion. Instead, there was a low, directionless feeling, like a television left on in another room. You called someone from those early years to tell them. They said congratulations. You both laughed awkwardly for a few seconds and hung up. The feeling didn't change. 14 months later, they brought in a new CEO. You'd signed the paperwork, you just hadn't understood what it meant yet. Your new title was Chief Strategy Officer. It meant one thing: make the business sound inevitable to people who weren't there when it wasn't. You watched the product get changed, prices restructured in ways that hurt the exact customers you built it for. People like your mother. People still paying $11 to cash a $90 check because the thing you built to stop that never made it back to where it started.
You lost wasn't a control. You expected to lose the control. What you lost was the feeling of watching something become what it was supposed to be. That part used to be the only part that felt real. Now it belonged to someone else, and you sat in a glass-walled office and said nothing because you'd signed the paperwork. The meeting in front of you ends. You barely remember what was said. You're thinking about your sister's car, a 10-year-old Civic, a song from when you were both kids playing tinny through a bad speaker. She sang along badly, unselfconsciously, the way you sing when there's no audience. You realized sitting there that you couldn't remember the last time you'd done anything without an audience, without calculating the cost of it, the signal of it, how it would read to someone watching. Every conversation had become a positioning exercise. That's the memory that stays with you the longest. Not the wire, not the boardroom. Her, singing badly, not performing for anyone. You didn't sing along. You'd forgotten the words. It's 9 p.m. now. You're back at your desk. The office is empty. Everyone else went home hours ago. You open the flight search again. Your hometown is already typed in from the last 3 tries. This time you don't close it. You think about the bank branch, the one that just closed. You think about a company that was supposed to make that kind of headline impossible and somehow never got around to the one place that needed it first. Not once in 9 years did you ever build anything for the county you grew up in. You pick up your phone and call your sister back. She answers on the second ring. You don't lead with an apology. You just ask how she's doing. She asks if you saw the news about the bank. You say you did. You tell her you're thinking about coming home. Not to visit, to build something there. She's quiet for a second, long enough that you almost fill it the way you always do in meetings, the way you've been trained to fill every silence with something that sounds like confidence. You don't. You let it sit. A second, you think about all the other silences you've filled that way. Boardrooms, investor calls, a funeral you spoke at once because nobody else volunteered, and the quiet felt worse than saying the wrong thing. This one's different. You don't need to fill it. You just need her to hear that you meant it. Then she laughs, the same unguarded laugh from the car. About time, she says. She asks what you're thinking of building. You tell her you don't know yet. Something for people like the ones who used to stand in line at the counter your mother worked behind. Something that doesn't charge $11 for the crime of not having enough. She's quiet again, a different kind of quiet this time. Then she says, our mother would have liked that. You hadn't thought about it that way. You do now. You hang up. You look at the flight search still open on your screen. The cursor is still blinking in the same box it's been blinking in for the last 3 hours. You book it. No hum, no static feeling of something unfinished. Just a flight booked to a place you left a long time ago for a reason that finally makes sense to you again. You set the phone face down on the desk, same motion as always, but this time it doesn't feel like closing something. It feels like the first thing you've decided all day that you didn't have to think twice about. You didn't build the thing that fixes everything. You built the thing that fixes everywhere except home. Tonight, that changes.